And this is not a condition may cause trouble. Certain medications have been known to cause asthma. And these medications include drugs that we normally use as pain relievers or beta blockers. Now, certain chemical situations, where in certain occupation, we have irritants that can cause asthma. Emotions, strong emotions can cause asthma too. And about 70% or more of asthmatics have allergens. And these allergens may be due to allergies that allow them to have itching in their eyes, which we call conjunctivitis, or runny nose, which we call runny nose we call rhinitis, or something we call pharyngitis, or they have eczematous rash. And in many cases, families, they have one or two people who have some of these allergies or have asthma. What are the symptoms? Now, the symptoms of asthma are well known. One of the common symptoms is cough. But I can tell you that several things can cause cough in the world. And the cough may be dry, or it may just be productive of just little mucus sphincter. Then breathlessness. Depending on the severity of the asthma, it can be breathlessness at rest. Then we have wheezing. This is sound that asthmatics make. Keep on breathing and breathing, and we hear them making certain kind of noise. Then chest tightness. In some of our research, we find that chest tightness is almost something we find in all asthmatics. Then there are a group of asthmatics that will have the so-called cough variant asthma. We may not just have any other symptoms, but there's symptoms with the cough. Asthma runs what they call a bimodal pattern. You have a childhood asthma and we have an adult asthma. How does these symptoms occur? The pattern of these symptoms are usually episodic, although sometimes it can be continuous. What time of the day do they have it? They are most likely going to have it in the night, and that's what we call nocturnal asthma, or early in the morning. And usually the symptoms are triggered by environmental allergens. I also want to let you know that there are something we call comorbidities that can be associated with asthma. Things like obesity or GARD, gastroesophageal reflux disease. And these things can come together, or in chronic sinusitis, in an asthmatic. All these things work together. Asthma also can present in what we call phenotypes. That is, there are different kinds of varieties. It's like the same disease is coming in different shapes and configuration. For example, it could be an allergic one. Sometimes it can be due to atopy or non-atopic. Sometimes can also come associated with obesity. And sometimes too can be drug-induced. And there are several phenotypes that have been found. But I think this will not be good. This will not be what I'll be speaking to in this lecture. One thing you must understand is that although the death from asthma is increasing, the death from asthma is vastly preventable. And that's what gives me concern. That in the year 2020, we have not been able to have a breakthrough in asthma. Moreover, asthma is poorly diagnosed and also poorly treated in many parts of the world. I had a situation in which a patient came to my clinic and has had asthma for 10 years, but has been managed with antibiotics. How do you imagine that? He was not diagnosed. How do we diagnose asthma? Now, physicians always tell you that symptoms are not enough to make a diagnosis. So you must have symptoms and you must have measurable things, investigations to show that asthma is there. And what we do is that we know the symptoms, the pattern of the symptoms, and we'll do what we call spirometry or peak flow measurements. That will be done in the physiological lab of the hospital. Then we can also test for allergens, using the common allergens in the environment. And this can vary from just taking blood or trying to do a pinprick to find out whether you are allergic to certain conditions. Now the next thing I want to ask, and I want us to look at, how then do we manage asthma? It's very essential. When I use the word manage, I didn't use the word cure. That if we want to keep this asthma stable. Now the very first thing in the management of asthma is to know that the management of asthma is individualized. No two asthmatic patients could be managed the same way. Although you can get the same medication, but the approach to the management of these conditions is different. Then the second thing I want you to realize is that it must be in partnership with your physician. We encourage asthmatics to do what we call a self-management. But this self-management should be a self-management plan. And they're working together with their physicians. They can come up with a plan to take care of their asthma in normal conditions and then to take up their asthma in acute conditions. Now the third thing is education. I used to tell my students that the word doctor is derived from the word to educate. And every great doctor or any good doctor must educate and educate and educate. We must educate you. Good education is good, but bad education is worse than no education. So you need to get good education on what triggers your asthma, the pattern of your asthma. And as I wrote some time ago in an article in 1995, you best can study your asthma. Now, apart from education, there's also what we call the avoidance strategy. Each time I talk about avoidance strategy, somebody says, well, they want to take us out of the world. How can you avoid house dust mite? How can you avoid pollens? How can you avoid pungent odors? How can you avoid irritants? But there are certain things, I used to say some idiosyncratic things that you know about yourself. And that if you avoid them, like if you have pets, if you keep cats, if you keep dogs, and you know the danders can affect, then you avoid them. And there are different mechanisms to keep your home free of house dust. It's a very good thing to manage it. Then the other way doctors manage it is the use of medications. And the principle governing our medications is what we call a step care approach. We increase the use of the drugs depending on how bad the patient's condition is. And we bring it down when the patient is doing well. But I want to tell you something very serious, and I tried to write it here. The way we manage asthma is very important. And now let me go back to the pathology of the disease. Now, asthma is caused by inflammation. Inflammation simply means flare up. Now, by some immune mechanism, which I already mentioned, it happens that the asthmatics is exposed to these inflammatory agents, cells, that get recruited in his airways. And these airways secrete what we call chemical mediators. And there are several of them, several of them. They are even getting more. Some are cytokines, some are chemokines, some are lymphokines, so many of them. And what they do to the airway is simply this. They allow the airway to swell, and by swelling, it narrows. And not only that, they tighten the muscles of the airways, and there's increased secretion of mucus, causing the airway to be irritable. Now, this situation puts the airway in such a situation that it gets easily irritable, what we call hyperresponsiveness. So can you see what I'm saying? There's an inflammation, then there's hyperresponsiveness. Both of them are bidirectional. The mediators give inflammation. The inflammation predisposed to hyperresponsiveness. Hyperresponsiveness makes you more predisposed to irritants. And so it goes on in that vicious cycle. At the end of the day, the airway of the asthmatic gets narrowed. Now this is the catch. The narrowing of the airways are the symptoms you experience whenever you have asthma. And that shows, that gives us what I mentioned. You have cough, you have breathlessness, you have wheeze. But the underlying issue is the inflammation. That is the thing that is creating the problem. And so in managing asthmatics, our first goal is to suppress the inflammation and not just to focus on the obstruction of the airways. I will tell you why that is so. Over the years, going to over half a century, people have spent more time on drugs salbutamol. But researchers, we must monitor how this patient responds. Now, there's a small instrument here called a peak flow. I've told people that this peak flow, as small as it is, it's a very powerful tool for asthmatics. Just as this finger manometer is to the hypertension. It's very important to help you in diagnosing your asthma. And also it helps you in monitoring your condition. But the result of your peak flow is always your own result, what we call your best peak flow. The word peak flow means peak flow meter. One of our senior registrars will explain to you how to use them shortly after I finish. It is your best peak flow that determines what you use to calibrate your situation when things are bad. And then your doctor and yourself can work together in deciding what is best, what is not so good, and what is a danger sign. The other thing is that we give drugs using what we call a volumatic. Now this volumatic is a small spacer device, also a spacer device. Volumatic is specifically to the company. Now because no matter how you use your inhaler, a lot of them gets into your airways and may not get into the lungs. But this spacer device collects the drugs and allows the bigger droplets to drop and the smaller droplets to go into your lungs, and thereby increasing the number that gets into your lungs. Then we use a nebulizer. My doctor will talk to you a little bit about it. Nebulizers are good, although people have raised questions in these days of COVID that when you use nebulizer, the ultrasonic thing can release particles that can affect both the healthcare worker and also the one who's using it. I always advise nebulizer should be personalized and done by you alone. In the measurement of the lung function, there's also a spirometer. Although in these days of COVID, the guidelines is as much as possible not to come to the hospital to do a spirometer. Why? Because in breathing out, if you have COVID, you can as well infect your healthcare practitioners around you. Now, there has to be a self-management plan and a plan in case you have an acute attack. This is done by you and your physician. And no questions will be asked on that soon. How you manage acute attacks is very bit different from the way you manage asthma generally. I want to let you know that asthma is not a life sentence. Asthma is not death. Asthmatics, in fact, have usually greater IQ than the normal people. I can't tell you how many people, great men in history, that had asthma. Eleanor Roosevelt had asthma. John F. Kennedy had asthma. Jesse Jackson had asthma. So many great athletes who have done wonderful things in the world have asthma. I've seen many of my asthmatic patients who are brilliant and are making strides in their profession. You must not have a phobia. And if you have a child that has asthma, you must encourage him to realize there's a genius in baking. Why we decided on this program is to highlight to you the fact that asthma is important and government should take interest in it. Local hospitals should take interest in it. You should not stigmatize the disease. And there are all available resources all over the world to keep the asthmatics going. I've just given you an introduction to what we're doing today. But I have three people with me who are going to represent various spectrum of disease. These are people who have tried to take questions from people and assess questions from other persons. They are going to ask me some questions particularly, and they are going to talk about it. I want to introduce them to you. First of all, I want to introduce Dr. Ajibade. who is a rheumatologist. And they will be talking to you, asking questions on answers.
Thank you very much for having us.
Then I want to introduce to you Dr. Nikarama, who is a senior registrar in respiratory medicine. And he's going to talk to you a little bit on how to demonstrate to you how to use the volumetric and the pictometer, and a little bit on nebulizers. And I'm sure he's going to ask some questions that are of interest to him and those of his own colleagues.
It's a pleasure to be here, sir.
And then we have before us a public figure who analyzes events, analyst, and then also someone who is involved in commenting on current findings. We have to take some time to get him to involve. And it's no other person than Mr. Dennis Mafido.
Thank you very much for having me, sir.
So thank you so much for being with me. I want to turn over to Dr. Nikarama to do some demonstration.
Thank you very much, sir. It's a pleasure to be here today. Briefly, I'll be talking about the peak flow meter. We have different types of peak flow meters, and depending on the ones you get, each one can perform the same function. The peak flow meter is usually portable, and every asthmatic should have a peak flow meter. It's used to measure how your lung is doing, how fast you can blow into the device. And depending on the one you use, children can have peak flow meters. This is the type for adults. This one is for children. I'll demonstrate with this one. If you look at the peak flow meter, it has a red cursor, and it's also graded into red, yellow, and green. And so it is expected that when you blow into this device, you should be in the green range if you are doing well. If your asthma is doing well, if you are controlled, it's expected that you should be in the green range as an adult. And so if you want to use the peak flow meter, it's advised that you stand up straight and then you breathe in deeply, fill your lungs, and then you make sure that the cursor is at the lowest. For adults, it's between 60 liters to 800 liters per minute, while for children, it's between 50 liters to 400 liters per minute. So it's expected that the cursor should be at the lowest. Make sure your hand is not covering the cursor. Hold your peak flow meter like this. And then when you breathe in deeply, you put it into your mouth and you seal your lips around it and you breathe out forcefully. Once you do this, the cursor will move and then you will get a reading. You do this 3 times and then you pick the highest reading and record on a chart that I will show you shortly. So I will demonstrate this. You hold it straight, you breathe in, put it in your mouth. We can see that the cursor moved to 400 liters per minute for me. So when I do this 3 times, I'll get the highest reading and then I'll record in a chart. We have what we call the asthma diary or the peak flow chart. Here we can see the chart and it will show you from the day, which is from Monday to Sunday, and then the times of the day, morning, afternoon, and night. It's advised that when you do it, you record your highest reading on the chart, and it's preferably you do it in the morning and then you do it in the evenings. And when you're going to visit your doctor, you take your charts with you and your doctor can use it to assess your asthma. Also, I'll be talking about the spacer device. The spacer device, like our professor had told us earlier, helps the lungs, the drugs to get into your lungs better. When you have an inhaler, depending on the inhaler you are using, when you shake your inhaler, they say that you attach it to your spacer device. For this type of spacer device, you don't need a mouthpiece, but there's another type I will show you here that you need a mouthpiece to use it. And you put it into your mouth and you press. Once you press, you inhale deeply. The drugs get into your lungs. If you are using the bigger spacer, you need a mouthpiece which you put into the mouth, and then you put your inhaler into the spacer device and you do the same. Thank you. Briefly, I'll be talking about the nebulizers. It is expected and advised in this time of COVID-19 that you should have a personal nebulizer, because the nebulizer is a machine that generates fumes, mist, they call it mist, of drugs, and you are able to breathe it in and it helps to relieve the symptoms you are having. This is a nebulizer. It has a tubing which you are expected to attach to the device, and then you connect your device to a light source. Some nebulizers come, they are battery operated, you don't have to connect them. And then you connect your tubing to this canister here. We usually have what we call nebules. You can get it comes, bronchodilators, they come in nebules like this. You remove one. Once you remove one, you open it and pour it into the canister. Once you pour it in, you close it back, and then you connect it to your face mask. Each one comes with a face mask. There's face mask for children and there is face mask for adults. So once you connect it to the face mask, and then connect your face mask to your head, and then you can readily put it on, and then it's working and gives you the mist that you inhale. A lot of times when asthmatics have acute attacks, they get to use this in the accident and emergency centers. It also has a mouthpiece that you can use to use it. Also here we have some types of spirometers. This one is a handy type. It's very easy to use. You connect it to the spirit, and then you can use it to take your do your lung function test. We have a bigger one here here, and you can see we have a bigger one here. So it opens up. You can see on the screen. You get to see when you use it. It shows your volume curve and your flow curve is shown on the screen. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you very much, sir. Now going to the questions. Sir, if there is a condition that has become almost as pandemic as COVID, is what we call obesity. Now obesity has been linked to a lot of non-communicable diseases like hypertension, diabetes, hyperlipidemia, even in rheumatology conditions, osteoarthritis. And we realize that as obesity is increasing and spreading all around the world, so also these diseases that have been linked to obesity are increasing. Sir, what is the relationship? I know you mentioned obesity when you were giving us the introduction. Can you elaborate more on the relationship between obesity and asthma?
Thank you so much. It seems to be that you are an obesity specialist. Now, the truth about it is that there's a growing interest in the world about obesity generally. In fact, people are saying that it's becoming what they call the big problem in chronic diseases. And in asthma, it's also important. Now, first of all, obesity creates that your lung has a mechanical disadvantage. Some obese people, they are virtually breathless at rest, and it compromises the size of the lungs. So there's some mechanical disadvantage. Now, secondly, obesity gives a lot of saturated fatty acids. It also leads to low fibers, increased antioxidants, and high sugars like fructose and then glucose. All these are pro-inflammatory in nature that allow for inflammatory cells to come to the lungs and thereby enhance asthma. Obesity also leads to reduction in vitamin D deficiency, and vitamin D deficiency has been found to be predisposition to asthma. Obese also people, they are more likely to have what we call GERD, gastroesophageal reflux disease, and also sleep apnea. And those two diseases have been implicated in the cause of asthma. Obese also can also have what we call leptin, and leptin is just one of them. But the increased leptin obesity is also pro-inflammatory, which releases a lot of inflammatory cells and create trouble. Obesity has been found to have a bidirectional effect. That is, obese people tend to be asthmatic. Asthma also predisposed to obesity. It has also been found that about 60% of adult asthmatics present with obesity and a very severe one, and they are poorly controlled. So in a sense, comparing with teen patients and obese patients, I want to say that obese patients have more problems. And that is why obesity wouldn't be something we advocate.
Thank you, sir. So now, from a woman's perspective, there are a number of conditions that have been found to occur more among women. In fact, most of the conditions in rheumatology, a number of them have been associated with females. Now, there are some studies that have shown us that there's increased prevalence of asthma in females, and it seems to be increasing. What is your take on this, sir?
Well, generally, I think that we always say that, that during the early part of time, asthma was a bipolar pattern, childhood, adulthood. Early childhood, boys seems to be on top. Later, as you are going more, there's equilibrated, boys are getting to say. But later, women take over. I am not sure we all know why it happens to women. Although someone will say that it ought not to happen to women because some of the cellular immunes are supposed to be protected. But there are some problems with women, access to healthcare, stress, problem with childcare, and then also gender discrimination all over the world. And this also may heighten the so-called difficulty this disease creates. So I think it's something we need to look up to, look and learn, study more. And I can tell you that some studies are showing that women with asthma suffer more severe asthma than their contemporaries.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you very much, sir. Talking about childhood asthma, I would like to find out when is the time that will be best suitable for children to go for the diagnosis or to be tested for asthma.
I wish there was a pediatrician in our panel, but see, I think that you can have a diagnosed asthma as early as 2 years old. Although many people will put it between 2 to 5 years old. And there are spirometers that can be used now for very young children to diagnose asthma. There are several things in childhood that mimic asthma, like acute bronchiolitis and so on, and that we need a specialized pediatrician to be able to differentiate that from asthma.
Thank you, sir. Talking about contracting this disease, just like COVID, we know that droplets, air can facilitate the contract, as in to contract the disease. Is it the same case with asthma? Do we have, is it transmitted through, is it airborne or through contact?
Yeah, within the last few years, we are becoming interested in infection as a cause of asthma. As I said before in my earlier introduction, that asthma can have many phenotypes, that is different expression of the disease. And infections are becoming important as trigger factors for asthma. Now, immunization will be good to immunize people against infection, like strep pneumonia, H. influenza, and others. But there is no immunization or vaccines for asthma itself. So, and asthma is not transmissible. I mean, you cannot say because this man has asthma and he's coughing around me, I have asthma. Unless I want to run from that, the person will have asthma. No, asthma is not like COVID. It's not an infection you can get by droplets. But infection can trigger asthma. Infection can worsen asthma. And in certain conditions, with the older patients who may have associated asthma or what we call chronic obstructive airway disease, vaccines may actually be very important.
Thank you very much, sir. Infections can trigger asthma. Coming down to infections now, there is a pandemic going on in the world. We have this COVID-19 and everybody is afraid. What is the impact of COVID-19 on asthma?
Now, recently I was in a conversation with some of my colleagues in the American Thoracic Society, and we all sharing experiences on the issue of COVID-19 and other respiratory disease. And people are finding out that during this period of COVID-19, they are seeing less of asthma. And there's been some hypotheses. One of them is the so-called ACE, angiotensin converting enzyme 2 receptors, which is assumed to be expressed in respiratory epithelium, and it aids the entry of SARS-CoV into the lungs and leading to increasing cytokines that destroy the lungs. ACE2 receptors are low in asthmatics, and it's found to be sort of protective. Again, some of these steroids that are used in asthma can affect this, can suppress the replication of these viruses. And then it has also been found that some drugs that are used for asthma, like formoterol and budesonide, may actually reduce replication of the virus. This doesn't mean that people who have COVID now should go and take anti-asthmatic drugs. No, that's what I'm saying. I'm saying that these are observational research showing that asthmatics are coming less now and they are getting protected from COVID. But I want to say to you that this is not universal. This is not something we can say that we are still observing. But there's something I want to say which is very important. That has also highlighted a lot of problems. Now, people have asked, how do I differentiate COVID from asthma? Now, you can easily differentiate COVID from asthma, or not easily differentiate COVID from asthma, because every now and then people are seeing different things about COVID. Recently, dermatologists are now telling us the manifestation of the skin or COVID in the foot, and they've sent pictures all over the world. The one big thing we must know about COVID and asthma now, asthma affects more of the airways, while COVID affects more of the parenchyma of the lung and can lead to what we call cytokine storms. Moreover, COVID can also give you Ebola, it can lead to pulmonary embolism, which does not the same way as asthma. What people have talked about, should we be using our spirometer? Should we be using our nebulizer? Because when people blow, they send a lot of particles. And then the examiner itself will be so we have suggested that for now, spirometry use in the hospital should be minimized. Then someone have talked about ventilators. That the ventilators are used in asthma and also are used in COVID. Is that not going to sort of reduce the use of this for asthmatics and compromise? Well, ventilators are only used in asthmatics for the very severe case, and as much as possible, they are just a subsection of patients that are very severe. So that is the current thing we are thinking of COVID-19. But let me say to you that COVID-19 is new on every one of us, and we cannot talk now. Time needs to evolve before we can establish anything about this disease and its approach to treatment.
Thank you very much, sir. Earlier when you were talking, you talked about increases in mortality and deaths from asthma. And I was wondering, why do asthma patients die if we have all these things that we have with us?
A recent publication showed that even the mildest asthma, 30 to about 35% of them would have acute attack. 16% of them will have a near fatal attack. And about 15 to 20% of them would have asthma. Asthma death has been a mystery for over half a century. Even more. But there are a few things we know. Inside studies on how asthma is being managed around the world have brought us some big facts. One, that doctors underestimate the severity of the asthma. And also the asthmatics himself has low perception of his asthma. Now these are the studies that have been done several years ago that shows that the asthmatic will be going through severe attack and he will tell you, I'm okay. Because there are no measurable things to tell you that you are knowing your airways, your symptoms are getting better, but inflammation is still going on. Then another thought is the increasing use of beta-2 agonists. As I told you, it's one of the causes of increasing death. We don't allow it to be used against singly. We want it to be used in conjunction with anti-inflammatory. Then the compliance of drugs. When people find that they are okay and they are well, they don't come to the hospital. And because they don't come to the hospital, things get worsened. Then, notwithstanding, there are a lot of alternate therapies that have been advocated for us. And of course, these alternate measures may not be okay. Much more than that, another big problem that we have, which is increasingly coming up in the world, is that people with asthma, some governments are not focusing on asthma. In fact, some governments are not doing a lot most hospitals do not have things to diagnose asthma. And asthma drugs are not in the essential drug list. And asthma drugs are not affordable. And they're usually not accessible. A research that was done in Ghana compared the asthma drug needed by a patient with asthma to maybe be higher than what the average nurse earns in Ghana. How can someone go able to care? Most of the drugs are imported. But I'm happy that some drug companies are coming up, who are trying to reduce the cost of their drugs, make it more accessible, make it more affordable. And I hope this trend will grow.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Now, sir, still talking about the impact of one condition on another, I was wondering, pregnancy. What's the impact of pregnancy on asthma? And then on the other side, what's the impact of asthma on pregnancy?
Yes, I like the way you put it. Somebody was saying that it's assumed that pregnancy is protective of asthma because you get estrogens, you have all these hormones that are secreted, and they themselves are steroids. On the other hand, too, there is a lot of increasing evidence that asthma and that pregnancy can worsen asthma. Usually, we used to have a rule of thumb, which I think is not universally acceptable. And a third of patients, the asthma will worsen. A third of patients, the asthma will remain stable. And a third of patients, the asthma will relieve. But I always say to people that, please, don't stop your controller medications when you get pregnant, even if you don't have the attack. As much as possible, maintain your drugs. And when an asthmatic patient is pregnant, has severe attack, please use the drugs for him. Don't get afraid to not harm the fetus or the mother. But however, there is another issue, and that is use of leukotrienes, which is also a controller drugs. It's usually not advisable that you have some teratogenic effect.
Thank you very much, sir. Still talking about women, we have had cases where beautiful young lady, you will see them, and after a while, they will say that they joined the asbestos, they died out of asthma. The question is, the symptoms do not really show. People will not even know that they are sick, and suddenly they will just die of asthma. Have you seen any case like that, or is it?
Well, really, it's beyond the scope of our discussion. I mean, there are some what we call brittle asthma or near fatal attacks, which may not be any product, there may not be any incidents that show it. But I have an experience that is so fresh in my memory. One of these days I went into the clinic, and I saw one of these ladies in the clinic, and as you say, it's a beautiful lady, quite, sun is cool, calm, like yoga. And I just said to her, I've not seen you a long time in the clinic. I just smiled. I said, well, please come to the clinic often. My resident saw her, gave her medications, and left. So one of these days I was driving through town and I saw a picture. I started inquiring what happened. They told me that she developed an acute attack. She was breathless. Those around her didn't know she had asthma. They brought her to one hospital, and the hospital had no light. The emergency functioning, there was nothing to do, not even a nebulizer. Then she was rushed to another teaching hospital. Those ones had light, but no nebulizer. And then suddenly her condition gets so severe. And I think they did a few things. They gave her monofil or some other drugs like that. I may talk about that later. She died. But unfortunately for it, while she was, after she died, they looked at her pocket and saw inhalers. So these are some of the things that we don't want to happen. And that's why we want to do enough education. That's why I want to tell asthmatics and caregivers, even parents of asthmatics, to please take care of them, monitor their asthma, and don't be careless.
Thank you very much, sir. On the advent of COVID-19, the WHO is talking about vaccines to combat COVID-19. Why can't we develop such vaccine so that we just nip it in the bud. We don't just talk about asthma any longer if we have the vaccine that can prevent people from contracting the disease?
Well, someone said that I think another day said the beautiful ones are still to come and the younger ones are still to come. I hope that one day we all wake up one morning and find that the asthma with one shot have gone. Because up now, we are not there.
Thank you very much. Thank you so much for these insightful answers to the questions. I attended this seminar some time ago, and we were talking about combination therapies, and you mentioned fortide and mentioned seritide and some other ones. I was just wondering, do we have access to these combination therapies in Nigeria?
Unfortunately for us now in this country, there are many pharmaceutical industries that have come up with affordable drugs, as some of them you have mentioned. And this combination therapy is so good in that it has what we call it smart. That's why I read it. It's smart in the sense that it can help you to take up the chronic disease, and also you can use it as a rescue medication. I think it's available, and as a senior registrar, as a registrar, you can make comparison of cost effectiveness. You can have various drugs and make cost effectiveness and then prescribe for patients.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you, sir. Still talking about treatments. There are some medications that, for us in rheumatology, they have come as a sort of redemption as far as rheumatological conditions are called. They are known as biologics. Now, these biologics are made from living cells, and they are directed against certain cytokines in the body. Now, cytokines are like little proteins that are generated in the body's immune response. As the soldiers in the bodies are trying to fight back, they generate these cytokines. And these cytokines, when they overdo, in quotes now, they are meant to be related to causing some specific diseases. For instance, in rheumatology conditions, cytokines like interleukin 6, interleukin 1, TNF, and all those have been implicated. Even in COVID, we are talking about cytokine storm, and they are already looking into treatments with these biologics. I know that in asthma, cytokines like interleukin 13, interleukin 4 have been implicated. What is the role of biologics in management of asthma?
Yes, someone was saying that cytokines and biologics are the future pathway. Many research work are done in the University, Harvard, in some centers around the world, because the way we are now looking at asthma is to target certain cytokines. We have drugs now for interleukin 4, interleukin 13. Initially it was adalimumab, which was IG. Now we're not going further to narrow down. But these drugs are not reserved for everybody. They are reserved for those who are what I call steroid refractory cases, that are not responding to steroid, not responding to the mainline drugs. Now these drugs too are very expensive and sometimes not available. And these drugs are doing subcutaneous injections, and they have a lot of side effects. So as of now, while they are good, they are not yet in the mainstream of management universal. And places that are being used, they are individualized and targeted. And they are used mainly in centers that have experience in it. But that is where we are going.
Thank you, sir. So on treatment, from the public view, people see that you've mentioned a lot of drugs, a lot of medications here. Can we have something like alternative therapy, just like people are looking at for COVID-19? In Madagascar, some people have prepared some concoction. In Colombia, people are coming up with some herbs. Do we have something like that for asthma?
Yeah, one thing I always tell people generally is that bad education is worse than no education. Now there's so many things on the internet. I tell my children that if you want to keep your head safe, reduce the time you spend on the internet. Many things we read around are not verifiable. Let me give you a true story. I met a very senior academic who is to be my patient. I said, why am I not seeing in the clinic? He said, no, I just discovered a small seed. And I use of this seed as help his asthma and got everything down. The next time I heard of this patient, he was dead. I had another patient who told me, oh, I just discovered this herb given to me by one priest or one someone. And I've been taking this herb and I was quieting my asthma. Few weeks or few months later, I was called to see the person. He had severe attack. He didn't recover. Now, there are several people talking about acupuncture, yoga, hypnosis, and all kinds of things. I tell you that I would rather stay in what is a standard, universally accepted cure. And as of now, if you have something that has been that can cure asthma or can help asthma, let's subject it to a test. Let us do a controlled study, a randomized control study, and let us repeat it in many centers, following the scientific, standard operating procedures. But until then, I would say most of these things are still on the realm of maybe.
Thank you very much, sir. I know that you are an ordained preacher of the gospel. I follow you on Instagram, I follow you on the DSTV and even Facebook Live. But sir, where does faith come in? Do we have miracles on asthma cases? Do we just throw away science and then hold on to God because God can do all this? Because people have heard of cases for COVID-19, they just trust God and then they recover. Some trust God and they still die. So where does faith come in all of this?
Yeah, that reminds me something I just before we leave this topic. Please, for COVID-19 and asthma, look, the best way to differentiate it is test, trace, test, trace. You cannot diagnose it by looking at the symptoms. Somebody tells me that running nose, cough, and so on. Do the test. Now, in my practice, I've seen people you have taught will not recover. And then they suddenly get recovered. And you ask them, they tell you their faith. I've seen a woman who had a stroke, and I thought she would never recover. And she was the prayer woman. Months later, I saw her and she had a miraculous cure. Faith works. I've seen people too who are dependent on faith in quote alone and through their medicine again, and they die. So I've seen both extremes. Now, my own view is this: science does not contradict faith. Science gives us facts, while faith is based on truth and revelation. And I will say, look, the basic core of science is spiritual, because it's God that gives us the ability to discover things. Isaac Newton wrote a lot of theological papers, apart from his law of physics. Galileo discovered the law of gravity, or some of the gravitational law, in in the church. And Pascal was a theologian. So I would say, look, take your medications. Follow the rules given to you by your doctors, but don't gestation your faith. They are not mutually exclusive. Your faith can only enhance your science, and your science must respect your faith.
Thank you, sir. There's another question that just came in now on Facebook. And what's the correlation between asthma and breast milk? Is there any connection? Breast milk, asthma?
I would prefer not to answer this question because the reason is that there are a few studies that have shown that those who feed on breast milk have more increase in asthma. But those studies do not look at the totality of the breast milk. Breast milk has a lot of things, gives you antioxidants and so on and so forth. So I will not take that study hook, line and sinker. But I can tell you that it's still a thin area in which people are saying that people who use breast milk may be supposedly predisposed to asthma. But I think it's still to study that. I think the study was came from new singer. We are not replicated it here. But pros and cons, breast milk is still here to go.
Thank you very much, sir. I'm actually privileged to be sitting beside this array of beautiful books, Asthma, Basic Principles and Management Strategy. And I want to discuss with someone who told me that everything you need to know in asthma is right in this book. About nebulizers, how to use your spacers, your symptoms, your triggers, managing asthma, up-to-date management of asthma. You can find it in this book. I know that there are other resources from you, sir, and from Asthma and Chest Care Foundation. Sir, can you tell us about Asthma and Chest Care Foundation and the resources available to us?
Asthma and Chest Care Foundation is a foundation that basically is aimed to work on asthma and other chest diseases. I founded it several years ago. Tripod mission, education, patient care, research, and also training. We won 2 awards from the American College of State Physicians because of our work on asthma. And we cooperate with other groups, pharmaceuticals, foundation like the Arcadius Foundation in the UK has helped us. And we distribute free drugs, we give quick flow meters, free leaflets, and do intense education. A few years ago, I wrote a book on asthma, Basic Principles and Management Strategy. It covers asthma from the basic to the more complex. Although this book has been written about 3-4 years ago, I will do some revision. But the basic facts of this book still remain. And these books can be available if you look at your screen, the numbers are being screened, and the website are being screened. Then also, we distribute a lot of free pamphlets, just like this. This is acute severe asthma. These are free. This is peak flow meter free. Asthma self-management free. Acute severe asthma free. Asthma the basic fast free. Now we are glad and we are willing. For example, like the Jess pharmaceutical that I done 4 times, and then the New Height pharmacy that done the Pelizer people partnership with us from time to time. Sometimes GSK partnership with us, and also we partner with the Nigerian Asthma Society. But we are looking forward to bigger donors. I want to say publicly here that Afek Bala was one of those people who helped us in our initiative, gave us a donation of about 250,000 naira. And many other people are giving us a bit on the low side. We are looking for more donors coming in around to help this work. We have an ultimate vision to establish asthma centers in all the states of the country, in the world, and become global. We are working in the States and also planning to work in the UK to make sure asthma is global. Also, we are working on what we call the mHealth principle, that is using mobile devices which we want to distribute to asthmatics to track the asthma, measure the asthma, know what medications to do, and when to call for emergencies. And we also want to introduce asthma schools where we train doctors, nurses, and go to schools. This cannot happen on our own. We need huge support from government, and we look forward to when the government will support us to make these things possible. But meanwhile, we continue to do the little we can do. Baby steps are good steps, so we are trying our best to make sure we get where we are.
Thank you very much, sir.
Another question just came in now, that if an asthmatic has an acute episode and goes for emergency, should they wait for COVID-19 test before nebulizing or treating?
Well, I want to say this clearly that why, that is a good question, simply put. Now let me take this question in its context to say, what is an acute attack? Asthmatics must know when their asthma is getting deteriorated. And I wouldn't really advise them to wait till it gets so bad for the heart. Now, these are the ways you know your asthma is getting bad. 1, if you have to use your rescue medication more than before. 2, if you are waking up more nights in a week and more nights in a day than usual. 3, if you're having a lot of day-night symptoms. Then 4, if your peak flow meeting are getting diminished. If you need an additional therapy to control your asthma, and also if you are exposed to a lot of allergens in increasing proportion. What happens is that your doctor will have worked out with you on what I call a self-management plan. Using the principle that was taught by Dr. Raumo, you can see a cursor that will show you the red, the blue, and the yellow. When it is turning red, they will tell you what to do. Doctors will tell you what to do. Either they tell you step up your drugs, use your steroids. All those preventive measures are so important for your asthma. And I only tell people that our aim is to have perfect control. Perfect control means no daytime symptoms, no nocturnal symptoms, no use of excessive rescue medications. You are not going to need your peak flow meter, your peak flow meter reading is good, and then you have environmental control of your asthma. In the event that your asthma becomes very severe, I used to teach my medical students that don't forget SOS. S for nebulized salbutamol, O for oxygen, and X for steroids. The other things like Hinox and magnesium sulfate, those are very important to just take care of it. Ventilating the patient is usually for very severe case, what we call a life-threatening condition. If in these days of COVID, and you have to go to the hospital, I would advise better have your own nebulizer at home. And with the suggestion of your doctors, they will know how to advise you to use your own nebulizer. Or your volumatic, or your own. I would rather advise that. And if you are going to measure your people, use your own. Don't use any other ones or good spirometry. But if you then have to come to the emergency treatment, and you are to be nebulized, or you are supposed to have a lot of things, I think doctors should try as much as possible to do the test. But that doesn't stop you from quickly doing things like giving them oxygen, giving them steroids, and even giving them informatic, which they have on their own, and not lead to any cross-infection. I want to use some question. What's the question?
At what age can you tell that an individual has asthma?
Well, the other question was at what age? We answered that question before. And as early as 2, but most likely 4 or 5 years, you can tell that the patient has asthma.
I'd like to ask, what are the long-term effects of salmeterol and sorry, can the doctor read this first?
Okay, what are the long-term effects of salmeterol and fluticasone in management of bronchial asthma, considering the fact that these drugs are steroids, even though they come in micrograms?
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you so much. Excuse me. Salmeterol is a medication that is used for asthma, and fluticasone is also a medication. The steroids that are used for asthma, the dose that goes to the airways are not so much to consider a lot of problem. Although for the older patients, it can have problem with bone turnover and predispose them to osteoporosis and so on and so forth. But the side effects of these inhalational steroids are not so much as to stop you from using them. Now, when you use them, they can sometimes give you oropharyngitis, and that you can easily handle by using a volumatic or you're rinsing your mouth after use. Now, the other beta-2 agonists can also give you some what they call beta-1 effect. They can give you tremors, increasing heartbeat, some headaches, and it can affect your electrolyte balance. But it's not a usual complication we see, and it can easily be managed. I want to thank you so much for tuning into this program. I want to thank those who have supported us for making it happen. I want to thank the Spokesman Communication Ministries who have made available some things. And some very doctors who are supported us. I want to thank Oboge in UK for our support. I want to thank Woody for our support. I want to thank members of the Asthma and Chest Care Foundation for their support. The New Heights and the Chest Pharmaceuticals. And other people who have supported us to make this happen. We are for you. You can always contact us through the Asthma and Chest Care Foundation anywhere, anytime. I'm a man of hope. I've always said that you can live for some time without food. You can even live for a few seconds without it. You cannot live 1 second without it. Asthmatics, you have hope. You can do well. You can live long. You have a quality of life. Don't begin to think about your obituary. Begin to think about your opportunities. Thank you for tuning in. God bless you.